with the institution of the NCAA's 12-team college football playoff format, there is more opportunity than ever before for teams to compete for a national championship. They can have a loss early on in the year and still come back, play meaningful football down the stretch, and compete in late December to call themselves the best in the nation. But with that added opportunity, there's also added heartbreak for teams who, even in spite of the expansion, just missed out. And that stings just a little bit more because now it's not selective. It's not 4 teams anymore making the cut, it's 12. So when you miss out on that, it stings just even harder. A dagger to the heart. And right now, Notre Dame has made a decision that might just change the landscape of college football forever. Let's talk about it. Coming into the final game of this college football regular season, it felt to me like Notre Dame was pretty much a lock to make the playoffs. I expected them to play Oklahoma, but ultimately, in a shocking move, that wound up not being the case. And they, in fact, did not make it all at all. This was a decision that ultimately caught them off guard as well. And just Notre Dame's reaction here, that's really, really interesting. Because in the wake of this, they did not decide that they were going to go out and still play a bowl game, still compete in what is kind of the traditional college football big time game. Before we had the playoffs, we had the bowl games, and that kind of determined, your best teams of the year, who did well in those final games of the season. But Notre Dame, instead, they decided that in the wake of missing out on the 12-team college football playoff, they would not compete in a bowl game either. They would opt out of their eligibility. And this is huge. This could change the landscape of NCAA football forever. It was not just some decision that we can look back on in a couple years, or that we even forget to look back on and don't even think about it in the future. It's a decision that could forever shape the landscape of the NCAA, and here's why. I have 2 major points here. The first of all is that with this college football playoff expansion being so new, it is really unprecedented times that we're living in. We don't know quite exactly how it's going to pan out, how it's going to look 10 years from now. We're still ironing out those details. We don't know what the future has in store. This is only the second year of it. And in turn, we don't really have a precedent for a moment like this. How a team should respond to not being named eligible for the playoffs. Because this is already breaking convention. For years, we didn't even have a playoff, but now we do. And now it's 12 teams. And we're still kind of in uncharted waters. As we can kind of see in the controversy here, there's still not a definitively perfect voting system either from the Associated Press. Or not the Associated Press, but the College Football Selection Committee. And so, in turn, once again, we just don't really know where it's going. But what that means is that it is very much manipulatable. There's a lot of wiggle room, a lot of just free flowing things going on because we are so early into the adoption of it. It is not yet set in stone, entirely defined what the perfect way to run this is. Which brings me into my next and biggest point here, which kind of ties into that last one. And that is the magnitude of Notre Dame and the influence of Notre Dame. This is, beyond a shadow of a doubt, a legendary franchise when it comes to the world of college football. They have won 11 national championships, had 7 Heisman winners, and they are simply legendary. They are so prestigious, of such high magnitude, that in a college football world that is increasingly becoming more and more commercialized, in which we saw the Pac 12 be taken down by teams just going elsewhere to the big conferences, where we saw Oklahoma and Texas leave the historic Big 12 that they had reigned for so long to go over to the SEC because that was the big conference with the big major media deal where conferences are everything. Notre Dame does not have one. They are an independent organization, and yet they are still blue blood. Yet we still talk about them. Yet they are one of, if not the most relevant team in all of college football, in spite of being independent. They are simply legendary, and there is no other way to put it. And with that, there is a lot of eyes on what they do and the decisions that they make. So, in turn, when you have a college football program of such magnitude, such importance, that goes beyond the bounds of the norms, any kind of convention for the modern day college football landscape, in spite of that, they are still so prestigious, still so important to this world. When you have a team like that, and on the other side, you have a newly expanded college football playoff format, which we still don't quite know how it's going to work out. We still don't know how perfect it is, what tweaks need to be made, and we can still kind of be manipulated, or rather, it can still kind of be manipulated in the future moving forward. What we're going to do with it, what precedent we have for it moving forward, as well as bowl games. And then you have a team like Notre Dame opt out of their bowl game because they missed the playoffs. This could massively impact the entire world of college football. It could lead to a seismic shift, which from this day forward, when we look back years in the future, we could look back and say that when Notre Dame opted out of their bowl game because they missed the playoffs, we kind of saw the importance of bowl games diminish, forever changing the world of college football as we know it. To be such a prestigious historic program, making a decision based upon such a non historic new concept, new expansion, other teams are going to take note of that. Because other programs, they want to be like Notre Dame. Because they have reached such a level of success throughout their history that teams simply look up to them in the decisions that they make. What teams don't do is have their decisions set in stone for this new playoff expansion. They don't quite know how to do everything with it yet. And so, with Notre Dame opting out, this could lead to more teams deciding that if they don't make the playoffs in the coming years, they're going to do something similar and they're going to choose to avoid playing in their bowl game almost out of protest. There's also a business side to it as well, because nowadays, especially with the whole NIL deal, college football, as I said earlier, is more commercialized than ever. It's more of a business than ever, I feel like. And as for the business side of it, the college football playoffs, that's going to make you some money. And right now, if the team finds themselves just on the outskirts of it, and so then they decide to protest and not play their bowl game, if enough teams do that, we could eventually see an even bigger expansion to maybe 16 teams. Now, am I saying that's the right way to go? Not necessarily, but it could happen. And then that could mean more teams and more businesses get their hands in the pot, get their hands on the money that comes with that spotlight. So there's a business motive to it as well. And in America, we know when you got a business motive, that can be a primary driving factor. So that's a big thing too. And it all comes down to Notre Dame's decision here. This could have a massive ripple effect on the college football world. A new idea, a new system, a new concept, a new expansion of the playoffs, which they just missed out on. And now, in turn, with that loss, they have chose not to play in the bowl game, breaking many, many years of convention, of tradition. And I would argue already that the college football playoff kind of threatens the status of these bowl games anyways, simply because that's the big thing now, where you've got 12 of these teams competing to win the national title. And so that does, in my opinion, kind of diminish the bowl games a little bit. Now, they still have tradition on their side, they still have history on their side. That makes them still so prestigious, something we have our eyes glued to the screen for. But it does kind of threaten that tradition a little bit by saying that is not the biggest thing in the world now compared to the playoffs. And now with a team like Notre Dame opting out of the bowl game because they missed the playoffs, if we see more teams do that, as we well could, with the precedent that the Irish have set, this could change college football forever. As if more teams are looking to follow suit in the coming years, we could very well see the loss of the importance in the high magnitude, high stakes of the bowl games in favor of teams looking solely to make the playoffs. It is truly an honorable goal to seek to make the national championship and compete at the highest level against the best teams in the world. But what it could also lead to is the breakdown and the destruction of many, many decades of college football tradition.